Yo, what's going on guys, it's Cynical, and today for you guys I have some E3 news and information. Today I've got some pretty exciting stuff for you guys, some stuff that really sort of raises the possibility of Kingdom Hearts 3, or at least just Kingdom Hearts, appearing at E3 this year. Now in case you guys don't know, E3 is next week, so yes, the most important time in gaming will be happening next week, and it's kind of hard to sort of get your head around the fact that time has flown by so fast. I don't know if this is happening to you guys as of right now, but I feel like my life is currently on like the fast forward button. It feels like only last week where I was actually sitting down watching the E3 2016 show. Last year's show was, you know, it was pretty good. There was quite a few reveals, especially looking towards Sony's side of things with like God of War, Days Gone, Death Stranding, Crash Bandicoot. But I'm hoping for some better greatness this year. So recently, Shawn Layden, who is the CEO of Sony Interactive, ended up speaking to Time, and he mentioned the fact that as of right now, Japanese games for the PlayStation 4 console seem to be popping up a lot more. Now this information is coming from Jamatsu, who have actually reported on this, so we're going to read over the news and information, and then of course get into it. So this is what was stated. Speaking to Time, Layden said that Japanese publishers are coming back to consoles, citing recent releases like Resident Evil 7, Neo, Nier Automata, Persona 5, and Final Fantasy 15 as examples. That's super important for us, Layden said. I think a lot of Japanese developers lost their way chasing the mobile game's yen, if you will, but they're coming back to console in a major way. And speaking of, we'll have some big announcements at E3 in that precise vein. So you guys heard it right there. Apparently there's going to be some pretty damn big announcements from Japanese developers and Japanese publishers at this year's E3, which is fantastic news. Now, as you guys should probably know, Square Enix are one of the biggest Japanese game developers in the business as of right now. Of course, they do have their American and European side, but in terms of the Japanese games, they're pretty damn well known for them. Games like Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts, as well as Dragon Quest, those franchises are extremely popular. So yeah, like Shawn Layden was saying right here, apparently there's going to be some pretty big announcements from Japanese publishers at this year's E3 show, and like I was saying, Square Enix are pretty big when it comes to the Japanese side of gaming. So this really does give us some more hope that Kingdom Hearts 3 will actually appear at this year's show. Not only Kingdom Hearts, but this also raises the possibility of other Japanese game developers sharing a few new announcements at this year's show as well. Personally, this gets me really excited to see the possibility of something like Bloodborne 2 being shown at this year's show. Absolutely loved the first one, and like I said in my wish list video, I really want to see Bloodborne 2 at this year's show. But of course, going back to the Kingdom Hearts stuff, this is really good news. We've already had a lot of different things popping up all over the place that point towards the possibility of Kingdom Hearts 3 appearing at the show. And of course, this is just another one to add to the pile. And I mean, Shawn Layden is pretty right. A lot of different Japanese developers have actually been focusing a lot on the mobile side of things rather than the true gaming console side of things. I feel like ever since smartphones have like really established a really good selling point, more and more developers are shifting their focus away from console to mobile phones. Around the release of the PlayStation 4, there really wasn't too many games on the console itself, and there was definitely and most certainly a lack of Japanese-based games on the console too. But like he's saying here, these days it seems to be that Japanese game developers getting more focused on the console side of things, with seeing games like Final Fantasy 15, Persona 5, Nier Automata, and seeing the fact that those games in particular coming from Japan are doing extremely well. And I mean, looking at Kingdom Hearts for the longest time, I would say ever since Kingdom Hearts 2 has remained on handheld consoles rather than true home consoles. But now the series is finally shifting onto the mainstream platform, and that known as Xbox One and PlayStation 4. Shawn Layden also spoke of some other news that gives us an idea as to what sort of presentation we can kind of expect if we're going to be in for more talking rather than showcasing. So this is the news right here. They said, in other news, Layden confirmed to Time that Sony's E3 2017 press conference this year will follow the same format as last year, being less of a press conference and more of a software showcase. So yeah, last year's show was actually really good. In terms of the Sony E3 press conference of 2016, they certainly displayed more games rather than talking about games. And I mean, a lot of people, when they're sitting there watching the press conferences, they really just want to see the new shit rather than someone talk about it for 15 minutes straight. So this year, once again, we can expect more game showcasing rather than, you know, different publishers and developers talking about it. Now, that sort of stuff is actually really interesting and quite good to get people more interested in, you know, different developers' games and whatnot, but I think the E3 Coliseum is more suited for that sort of stuff rather than the press conferences. Anyway, guys, thought I'd just give you this news and information today. It's always good hearing this sort of information, especially when it comes from Sean Layden. He plays a pretty big role in what actually ends up getting presented at the show and stuff, so it's good to hear this information directly from him. Anyway, guys, hopefully you're having a fantastic day, and until next time, I'll catch you later. Peace.